My name's Tim. I'm the lead data scientist at Statsig. People get worried about running too many experiments and having them overlap and what sort of problems that can introduce. And the way they usually get around that is really by isolating a test and making sure that if user A is in test number 1, that they're not in test number 2. And it's almost habitual that you want to control for as many variables as possible. But I find in the world of, particularly in the world of online A/B testing, it's better to just trust the randomization process. Your experimental velocity and your experimental power is very tightly related to how many users you can shove into an experiment. If you start carving up your universe of users, you have greatly reduced your experimental power for each one, and each experiment will now take longer. If you wanted to say like, we're not getting enough users, we want to get more power behind this, you actually have to wait for one of the other experiments to finish in order to increase the allocation. And I've just noticed in my experience at Facebook that like that process of managing multiple experiments actually becomes very tedious, and it becomes the bottleneck for your experimental velocity. When you allow experiments to overlap, the nice thing is now you have available every single user. You get the full power of your available users. And I found that the randomization process really corrects for those experimental effects. So if experiment 2 and your experiment 1 are running on top of each other, you'll have users in experiment 1 who are in the test group, and they'll be split evenly between the test and control of the other experiment. And so that effect of that second experiment actually cancels out. When you have to make a shift decision, those decisions should not be made in a vacuum, because if they do actually interact, you want to know that. I've heard from another company that did a lot of internal experimentation. One of the most popular requests that they got as an experimentation platform was to build an interaction detection tool. They went to great lengths to build this tool, and people went in and immediately were pretty excited. They tried it out, and people did not find interaction effects as often as they would have expected, or when they did find it, it was very underwhelming. And so it actually, even though it was a highly requested feature, it's actually what didn't become used. Fundamentally, it's really hard to change user behavior. So I think the hope that like 2 effects will actually multiply is pretty slim.